Good morning. It's Friday, February the 5th, and this is the heart of the matter. You may have heard the story of a man named Aaron Ralston. He was a rock climbing in Utah when a boulder fell on his wrist and pinned him to a canyon wall. He waited 5 days to be rescued, but finally amputated his own arm with a pocket knife. He was then able to climb down the wall and hike out to safety. That was a drastic thing to do, wasn't it? We don't even like to think about doing something like that. Why would a person do something as drastic as that? Well, it was a matter of life or death. He knew that if he didn't do that, that he would die. When it comes to the matter of sexual sin, something like adultery, the Bible paints a picture of a life and death situation. If that surprises you, you're not paying attention. There are numerous reasons why adultery is such a destructive sin. It destroys marriages and reputations and trust, the well-being of children and society as a whole. It goes against God's design for us in that we are to be faithful in marriage just like God is faithful to us. And when we break that promise of fidelity to our spouse, we're hurting ourselves and our spouse and the cause of Christ. And so that's why Jesus speaks in the Sermon on the Mount so seriously about adultery. In fact, Jesus advocates drastic action in order for us to avoid this sin. In Matthew 5, verse 29, he's talking about adultery, and he says, "If your right eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. It's better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell." Now, that's a pretty drastic suggestion, isn't it? Why is that? Well, because it's a matter of life or death, spiritually speaking. Just like Aaron Ralston had to do something drastic in order to save his physical life, we sometimes have to do something drastic for our spiritual life. Now, Jesus is not telling us to literally pluck out our eye to prevent us from committing adultery. Adultery is committed in the heart long before it's committed with the body. What Jesus is saying is that you might have to make some difficult, painful sacrifices in order to protect yourself from the lust that might lead to adultery. That might mean changing some habits that you have. It might mean cutting off some relationships that are bad influences that might lead you to that sin. It might mean confessing that temptation to your spouse or a close Christian friend who can hold you accountable. It might mean filling your mind with the truth of God's Word instead of some other things that might lead you to that particular sin. Serious sin leads to serious consequences, and it calls for serious action. One writer offered this advice to us in regards to this sin. He said, "Act decisively, immediately, even if it's painful. The drastic nature of the remedy is simply the index of the radical danger of the sin. It is not a situation for negotiation." Those are good words, wise words. It's a matter of spiritual life and death, and it calls for radical, drastic action on our part. And that's the heart of the matter.